Families, friends, subscribers, greetings. As the world watches the unfolding of mayhem and chaos in the capital of the United States, your mind can easily reflect back on the series of videos I have uploaded to this channel entitled Time of Reckoning. It was just a matter of time before that reckoning hits home in the United States. 4 years gone, Mrs. Clinton, who ran for the presidency against Donald Trump, sometime in November, just shortly before the election, said that you could easily put half of Mr. Trump's supporters in what she described as, quoting her, a basket of deplorable, end of quote. The consequences for that statement was dire for her, saying that half of Trump's supporters were deplorable. All those who criticized and condemned her are pretty much saying the same thing now in the wake of what happened on the 6th of January in the capital of Washington. The President-elect Biden said carefully that it's not surprising. Everyone could see it coming. But everyone could see it coming, while it may be true, is questionable, because students of history knows very well that a large part of Mr. Trump's success was due to the large support he got from the Christian community in the United States. And I want to repeat that a large part of Mr. Trump's political success at the polls in 2015 that led to his inauguration January of 2016 was in large part owing to the support he got from the Christian and faith-based community in the United States. One asks, what do they think as his presidency unfolds? There were very few from that community who chooses to criticize him. It was very clear, though, as Mr. Biden said, you could see it coming. But you also want to ask his enablers, his fellow Republicans in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, what were they thinking as it was all unfolding? Not just the 6th of January 2021, but over the course of the 4 years of his presidency. What were they thinking? And it was very clear, although he was being called out by news media all across the nation of the United States and the world for what everyone who has eyes to see could have seen that led up to that day of reckoning. What were his fellow Republicans, elected officials who take oath and swear to the Constitution of that nation? What were they thinking? It is very clear. Whatever they were thinking did not work. It is also very clear that a year ago, almost to the date, that the president was being impeached by the House of Representatives for conduct that was deemed unbecoming of the office of the presidency. And his fellow Republicans have sought to shield him from being disciplined, from being removed from office. Mr. Adam Schiff, who was the impeachment manager, clearly stated that those Republicans, both in the House and in the Senate, who aided and abetted, who shielded the lawless president from being called to account, that they were setting the wrong precedent because he was going to do worse. And not only did he do worse, but he actually causes an insurrection that fortunately did not lead to the death of his own vice president and even the very ones on the day that was on the floor of the Senate doing his bidding could easily have lost their lives as well. And so we know now that in the last few days, the last 2 weeks of his presidency, it is so easy to hear all the people who shielded him walking away from him. Obviously, because there is nothing left. So you could easily take the last 2 weeks as your vacation. It's easy to resign at this time. But ask, what does it say to the intelligence, to the foresight, to the perception of those elected officials? Shame on them. Shame on them. We look forward to see what the future holds for the new president. Black people across the world have been divided in their views on American politics. It is very clear that American politics for the last over 200 years have taken center stage in world domination and have sought to exercise domination over everyone, especially smaller nations. Whoever it is that occupies the presidency of the United States, none truly have the interest of black people and the black race at heart. None. There are some who appears more favorable than others, but over the last 200 years, our situation fundamentally remains pretty much the same. The hegemonic, demagogic way that the world power of America behaves, they continue to behave that way. They should be on top, and everyone else is underneath. Smaller countries, small island developing states continue to suffer at policies put in place by that world power. And that world power is aided and abetted by Western Europe, Canada, Israel. They have their friends in strategic places that continue to work for the demise of the black race, black countries. They want us to be subservient. They want us to continue to use our struggling economies to subsidize theirs. And so our situation continues to remain the same. So however optimistic one might be about the incoming Biden administration, and to the credit of the Democratic Party, whether real or imagined, you can see scores of people of color in that party, unlike the Republican Party. All the blacks who support the Republicans are on the fringe. You know, when you look in the Senate, when you look in the House of Representatives, on the Republican side, it's as though they live in two different worlds, because you see one that is predominantly white, and the other one look pretty much like what the world look like. You will see people who are Jewish, people who are Syrian, people who are Chinese, people who are Indians, people who are Africans. See people of all races on that side. So to their credit. But it doesn't matter how much people of color there. Fact is, the dollars in the Caribbean remains weak. The economies in what they call the third world remains very weak, and none have a vested interest. No president of the United States ever demonstrate any serious intent to strengthen that. Ask Jamaica, ask Guyana, ask Haiti, and they have testimonies that can fill a whole stadium. Yes, they have testimonies that they can fill a whole stadium, no matter how big it is, of efforts made on the part of those hegemonic powers to keep their economy subservient so that they can always use our economies to subsidize theirs. So, my friends, let us continue to look within ourselves, especially the black race. We need to ask ourselves, as Marcus Garvey asked, if we are inferior people. Why are we not seriously concerned about building for ourselves a self-reliant race? Why are we so dependent on other races, especially the race that once enslaved us? And having released the clutches of enslavement, now regained their hold, their stranglehold hold by neo-colonialism. Why do we continue to be subservient? What is it that prevents us from doing for ourselves what we depend on them to do? Ponder those thoughts. It's a pleasure to share with you again. I hope you continue to give me your feedback on these videos. If you think the information can be enlightening to any, share it with them. And we look forward to talk again soon. So long. Bye-bye.